Clay Travis is with us, the founder of Outkick, at Clay Travis on Twitter, Fox Sports. He's on the JohnstonRVCenter.com hotline. What is up, Clay? How are you?
I'm doing well. How are y'all?
Great. Thanks a lot. When you draft, if you're the Titans, and you draft Malik Willis number 3, or in the third round, excuse me, not number 3, in the third round, your plan for him as it pertains to Ryan Tannehill, do you think would be what?
I think you bring him in. Obviously, it's like a redshirt year for Malik Willis, and you find out whether with a guy around pick 100, I think it was 86 or whatever it was, he's capable of being, in your mind, a starter in the NFL or not. If he is, you're getting an incredible value on him. If he's not, then you go back into the free agent market. Depending on how the season goes, you potentially end up with somebody way better as a higher draft pick. But effectively, you're letting it be known, I think, that this is the last year for Ryan Tannehill in the Titans regime.
But you don't believe that Malik Willis is the heir apparent. I mean, he's got to earn that spot. They didn't draft him thinking, okay, that's our future.
I don't think you draft a guy in the third round saying, like, hey, this is definitely going to be the heir apparent. In other words, if the Titans had a bad year and they were sitting somewhere around the top 10, I don't think they would pass on a quarterback because they took Malik Willis this year, right? So they're not thinking necessarily, hey, this is the guy who could be the future of the franchise. I think they probably thought he was good value. He doesn't cost very much, and they get this full year to kind of see. I mean, look, my argument for a long time has been, if you don't have a quarterback, I think the NFL should treat quarterbacks like college does, right? I mean, even if you got a 5-star who's a freshman, you go and get another 5-star the next year because it's hard to project who's going to be elite, right, at the quarterback position. And so I think that's kind of where the Titans are. Unless Ryan Tannehill comes out and has an incredible year, I think this is probably his final season. It's certainly anywhere near the cost of what he's making now.
Wide receiver is so important in this league, and obviously John Robinson didn't want to pay A.J. Brown, so trade A.J. Brown, draft Treylon Burks, but Robert Woods also coming in from the Rams. If Robert Woods is 95% of the Robert Woods that was healthy with the Rams, you got him on the cheap. Now you got a rookie contract for Treylon Burks. I mean, you've got a couple of pretty good receivers there, but I'm sure as a Titans fan, you probably didn't like the fact that A.J. Brown has gone to Philadelphia now.
Well, look, I mean, as a Titans fan, we've spent over 20 years trying to get a really top wide receiver. And there have been a lot of first and second round draft picks who haven't turned into, that top 5, top 10 caliber guy. You finally had one in A.J. Brown. Just being totally, transparent about it, what are the chances that you go from one top 5 to 10 wide receiver to another, and he's the 6th wide receiver taken, right? Doesn't seem very likely, personally. I mean, there have been a lot of high draft picks for the Titans at wide receiver, whether it was Corey Davis, who was okay, but never was the level of A.J. Brown, whether it was Kenny Britt back in the day, probably the best wide receiver in Titans history is Derek Mason, and he was I would say a mid-tier, big-time playmaker. In that, I mean, I don't think anybody feared Derek Mason, right? Like he made a lot of his living on those underneath routes, just being a really skilled, disciplined wide receiver. But I think that's probably the challenge is, what are the odds that you straight up replace a big time guy in A.J. Brown with somebody who's relatively the equivalent of him? I think it's low. If they do it, then more power to them. That's a home run, because you went from basically, having to pay a guy $100 million, which is what the Eagles gave A.J. Brown, to instead, paying $12 or $14 million to a guy, which means you got a lot more dollars to spend elsewhere.
Clay Travis is with us on the JohnstonRVCenter.com hotline, the founder of Outkick. Last night, the Monday Morning Quarterback Club here in Birmingham announced their first winners and had a banquet for the Saban Legacy Award, honoring coaches and their contribution to the sport. Steve Spurrier and Eddie Robinson were the first people to receive this award. When I say Steve Spurrier, as a guy who is so tied to Tennessee, What pops to mind for you for Steve Spurrier? I don't want you to write his obit for me, but just tell me how you describe Steve Spurrier.
I think he's a guy who changed SEC football forever. Because for me, when I think about Steve Spurrier, what I think about is a guy. Look, when you really break down football from an offensive and defensive perspective, offense is about creating space, right? It's a game of space. Defense is about trying to eliminate space. That's effectively what the purpose of the sport is. And for his era, I don't think there was anybody better at creating space. I mean, how often did you watch SEC football games where out of nowhere it felt like Spurrier had a guy wide open and there wasn't anybody within 10 yards of him, right? It just you kind of lived in fear when he was in his heyday. Every time they dropped back to pass, you felt like, oh, they may score here. And certainly coming out of the sort of 3 yards in a cloud of dust SEC style when Spurrier took over at Florida, that really kind of changed things. And then the other thing I would say is Spurrier changed Florida football forever. Prior to Steve Spurrier getting there, Florida football wasn't very good. After Steve Spurrier, Florida was and is, a top 10 program in all of college football. And certainly there are many different people to herald for that. But there's very few coaches, by and large, who you can say this guy made a program into a perennial power. Spurrier did.
Are you chaperoning a field trip for one of your kids?
I'm not chaperoning, but I am I'm down in Orlando. So I am at SeaWorld right now, and I've got my two youngest boys with me. So we just finished a water park ride, and they are walking through one of the aquariums right now. So,
do you need to go? Back. We're taking away from your family. If you need to go, go.
No. It's a 10-minute break. Trust me, I've been everywhere here for the last 5 or 6 days. So,
have you gone to Discovery Cove?
No. What is Discovery Cove? Is that in SeaWorld?
It's a SeaWorld property. It's off the property, though, just down a little bit from it. It's incredible. I'm telling you, you need to get Laura to just Google it. You guys, if you go there, it will be your number one by far.
Yeah, we've been to Universal. I went to Magic Kingdom for a day, went to Universal 2 days, and now I'm at SeaWorld. It's just me and the two youngest boys. So Dad has been in charge for this entire trip.
Check out Discovery Cove. I'm telling you, it's a hidden gem. With that said, who I don't believe is a hidden gem, Will Levis. He's come up on the show back-to-back days now. I don't know if you've seen this, Clay. There are now 6 that we can count mock drafts for 2023 that have Will Levis, Kentucky quarterback, going in the top 10.
First of all, I don't know who has watched SEC football. This is one of those things where I feel like sometimes there's a massive difference between the expectations for people who watch college football and people who project for the NFL draft. And I didn't know that, but that's pretty wild to me because I think even Kentucky fans. Now, to be fair, if Will Levis comes out and has a Joe Burrow-like season, because if you had said to me for 2019 season, hey, Joe Burrow is going to be the number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft, this is my prediction. If you'd said that in May before the season started, I think it was 2019, right? I can't even keep up with what year it was.
Yeah.
Everybody would have said this is the craziest prediction of all time. You're telling me that Joe Burrow is going to come out and have maybe the greatest season as a quarterback in the history of college football, and he's going to end up a consensus number 1 pick. Everybody would have said you were crazy. So maybe Will Levis is going to be a totally different quarterback this year than he has been based on what I have seen from him last year, for sure. That would stun me beyond belief if he's a first-round pick. I would not be happy right now if you told me, hey, the Titans are going to have the 12th overall pick and they're taking Will Levis as the quarterback of the future. Right now, I would say, I need a lot of alcohol to drink.
You'd say we've already got that guy in Ryan Tannehill. Outkick on their Twitter feed and on their webpage back on May 1st had a picture of Ben Joyce throwing the ball 105 miles an hour, 105.5 against Auburn this weekend. Second fastest thrown baseball recorded in the history of the sport. What falls off first, the rest of my hair or Ben Joyce's arm? Because you look at that picture and it looks like it's going to snap when he's throwing it.
So first of all, I mean, if I were him, I would want to go ahead and get drafted and make as much money as I can right now. Second, I think one of the, I don't know if you guys have talked about this at all, and I know you have the SEC baseball tournament every year. If you rank dominant SEC teams, Tennessee I believe they're 40-4 right now, something like 20-2 in the SEC. Given that it's baseball, if Tennessee were to go on and they're the favorite to win the College World Series, we'll see what happens. Everybody knows baseball can be erratic when it comes to postseason play and what ends up happening. But I think you would have to argue that this Tennessee team, of which Joyce is a member, is one of the most dominant SEC teams of all time, because the records that they're setting this year in SEC baseball, which is arguably better than SEC football, certainly better than SEC basketball. Arguably, SEC baseball is the most competitive of all of the college sports for the SEC. They would have one of the greatest seasons in the history of college athletics. So I don't know where it's going to go from here, but as we sit early May with them, I believe they're 40-4. These are numbers that you just don't see anywhere. And the level of dominance that they have shown, both offensively and defensively, is really kind of off the charts.
All right, go follow Clay on Twitter at Clay Travis. Read him at Outkick. See him on Fox Sports. Enjoy Orlando, Clay. As always, we appreciate the time.
No worries. Appreciate y'all.
All right, buddy. Take care. Clay with us on the JohnstonRVCenter.com hotline.